Hello students, Professor Nugent here. In the last video, we were talking about how to predict GDP growth rate. We were looking at including past values of the GDP growth rate to predict the current or next period value of GDP growth rate. But we saw that, our predictions are not that great because adjusted R-squared, it's just not that high. So we want to think about how can we do better. And in this video, we're going to talk about how we can do better. We're talking about time series regression with additional predictors and the autoregressive distributed lag model. So far, we have considered forecasting models that use only past values of y. It makes sense to add other variables, other independent right-hand side variables that might be useful predictors of y above and beyond the predicted value of lagged values of y. And so here we have the auto-distributed lag model. Next to the big rainbow star, yt equals beta naught plus beta 1 times yt minus 1 through beta p times yt minus p plus a delta 1 times xt minus 1 plus through delta r times xt minus r plus ut. This is an autoregressive distributed lag model with p lags of r and r lags of x. This model is, the nomenclature for this model is ADL of p comma r. All right, let's think about an example. One example for an additional variable that we could include in our model to predict the GDP growth rate is the term spread. Okay? You might have heard about a year ago that there was a lot of fuss around the inverted yield curve. This is what we're getting at. If you look at let's start with what is the term spread. The term spread is the difference between long-term interest rates and short-term interest rates. And here on this plot, we have the long-term interest rate in black and short-term interest rate in blue, and you can see that they move together pretty closely. As long-term interest rates go up, short-term interest rates go up. As long-term interest rates go down, short-term interest rates go down. However, observe that as the economy approaches a recession, the term spread, the difference between long-term interest rates and short-term interest rates, becomes very narrow, almost disappears. But when the economy is less healthy, when there's less expectation for a recession, then there is a larger spread between long-term and short-term interest rates. Again, you can look at 2008, 2009. There was very little difference between short-term and long-term interest rates. And then afterward, larger difference. And B gives us that term spread that just before recession, term spread goes to about 0. Negative. All right, so what is going on here? This is a flight to safety. This is investors. This is the demand for long-term bonds going up as investors expect that the short-term outlook is becoming more grave. Okay, so as demand for long-term bonds go up with expectations for the short-term economic outlook going down, then that pushes long-term interest rates down relative to short-term interest rates, and the term spread goes down. So this is a very good predictor for recessions and for growth rates generally, because when the yield curve or the term spread inverts, when long-term interest rates go below short-term interest rates, that is a very good predictor for an oncoming recession. So let's include the term spread in our model we're going to include some lags of the term spread in our model to predict GDP growth rate in period t. We have two lags of GDP growth rates, t and t minus 1, and we can include either one or two lags of the term spread. So you can see that adjusted R squared has gone up, and in the ADL21 model, the first lag of term spread is significant, but you can see that when you add the second lag, they're no longer significant. So the ADL21 model might be a great way to, that's a good improvement on predicting GDP growth rate.